On this session of Roll Your Stats, we cover Brachis, the halfling paladin. Just as at home at the bank as he is on the battlefield, his paladin order values one thing above all else: gold. We also cover the Cat in the Hat. What do you think of that? And welcome to Roll Your Stats.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is Roll Your Stats. It's that podcast where we get together and make a new character every time. It's Trevor. I'm back with my friend Peyton.
Yep.
And we've got our new friend Michael together with us as well.
Hello.
We're going to get together and just hop into making a new character. I mean, we're here to roll some stats, so let's roll the stats.
Let's get it.
All right, so we're going to use our table that we were using last time. I felt like that presented a good kind of jumping off point for us to get going. So let's just start at the top. Number 1, let's hit that race. We got an 8. That's going to be a halfling this time.
Ooh, halflings are so much fun.
Halflings are fun, and we're starting a trend of little people.
Man, I've been watching a lot of Critical Role lately. Now, every time I think of a halfling, I always think of Orin. I just can't think of, like, not a halfling that isn't Orm now. I've never played a halfling in either of my playthroughs of Baldur's Gate, or I've never really come up with any ideas for one. Let's see what we got going.
The immediate thing that comes to mind for me is Frodo. Like, that's immediately just the dude, shaggy hair on those toes as well.
Breeches and hairy feet.
So we've got the halfling. Let's see what type of halfling we have. Let's go over class. We got a 12. He's a paladin.
A halfling paladin. What are the racial bonuses that halflings get?
That's a good question. That's kind of a good place to start. So let's go ahead and dig into that. Does anybody have that on hand?
Halflings get a dexterity increase of 2, hit adulthood at about the age of 20. Most halflings are lawful good.
Hey, well that okay.
Makes sense.
Checks out.
Makes sense.
As a rule of thumb, they tend to be good and kind-hearted people.
So we just have to find one who's a stalwart in his faith.
A halfling a head above the rest.
Ooh.
So then that completely takes out for us having to do alignment. I think that's already kind of stated with this character. We're going to be the lawful good character. So let's just roll for some...
There is always Oathbreaker.
This is true.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's roll. Let's find out what the alignment is for this character so we can kind of figure out maybe what kind of god they follow.
I see. That's a good idea. We're kind of hamstringing this guy, immediately saying he's going to be the cop when that may not be the case. All right, so then we need to roll a d10 for alignment. Let's get this going. That's a 4, gentlemen. Neutral good.
The possibilities.
So maybe not an oath breaker, but an oath bender?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that a lot. Maybe more willing to play outside the law to get their mission accomplished.
Yeah. I see what you mean. They're sort of willing to maybe just even turn the other way,
Ooh, just pushing them boundaries.
Yeah, and there's maybe it's just they're so they're driven by divinity. They say like this is what we have to do. My God says so.
Ooh, just not like arrogant, somewhat arrogant, I guess you could say.
I could see arrogance coming with zealotry. All right, so then let's get my 2 d20s here. Let's roll with advantage for some personality traits. All right, we've got a 1 and a 17, which gives us shy and impulsive buyer/spender.
Impulsive, but shy.
That's interesting.
That is a combo that you only get through living a life.
Definitely,
yeah.
definitely, and it does specifically say like impulsive buyer spender. So it may be just that they are bad with money. Are there any deities in the like 5th edition realm that are like god of wealth or god of money, something like that? And maybe that's their means of worship. Is I spend cash to praise God. I love that. That's so wild. It's kind of got a bit of a Ferengi thing going on.
The donation plate at their church is very full, and they expect it. Let's see. We have Joaquin, Waukeen, the merchant's friend.
Exactly who I would just pulled up. Also known as the Golden Lady.
So then we have a neutral. Is it neutral good or true neutral?
Neutral good. So he's still leaning into the realm of doing like positive actions or promoting positive actions, but I guess neutral sort of seems like to me that says that the intent might be kind of shady, or maybe, I don't know, whenever I think of like a god of wealth and someone worshiping a god of wealth, that leads me to think about someone who's that's kind of conflicting, because if you're in it for yourself, you're in it to gain something, and worship is all about giving, and so there's like a real complex sort of system of worship or of society that come into play there. And especially when you think about someone who is like, I'm a paladin to this, like this system. So then is he like a cop where he's defending capitalism?
Oh boy.
What if this is literally the benevolent version of the prosperity gospel? What if wealth equals closeness to God?
Whoa.
What if this is just a little Joel Osteen running around?
That is absolutely fantastic. That's wonderful.
I can picture a society of halflings who worship a god of commerce to the point where they maybe view one another as whoever gathers the most, whoever is the greatest merchant is closest to God.
Ooh, and that's kind of like they're like almost like their archbishop, or however you want to put it.
It's the wealthy, the landowner or whatever that everybody has to pay tithe to because he's got the deep pockets.
Yeah. Yep. Everyone wants to know him.
I feel this might even be a double-edged sword, because the more money that you collect, the more that you are expected to contribute. As a show of faith.
I like that. So then even then they're still pushing those kind of like, I guess, liberal sort of ideas of, if your things are working out for you, then you need to make sure that it's working out for other people, I guess, so that they have the attempt or the opportunity at least to push themselves forward.
Right. Don't hold everything just for yourself kind of thing.
Exactly. They are still good. So there is still that underlying level of benevolence. They want the greater good, just through monetary means.
Right.
Yeah, and then I could see that also turning into those people that are up in like the upper echelon of this kind of society. Then it's almost a competition of who can do the most good. I used my tithe to build a hospital, and we've helped this many people. And then the other guy's like, oh well, I've developed a bank, and now we've made it to where all these people can make more money. And it's, oh well, dang.
But it still has like, it's not like them trying to flaunt it though. It's like we are still trying to do good, but like I'm trying to outdo you while I'm doing good.
Yeah, and it's all about like the repercussions of your actions in like the best possible way.
This is a community that absolutely would not build a building or a piece of art without also putting a placard with the name of the family who created it out front in gold. Yes, you're so right. You're right. And then they would even have like, the people that donated to make it happen. They've, there's the gold tier and the bronze tier and the pearl tier or whatever. Oh no, they're just accepting of monetization.
Oh no, you're so right. And not even only that, it's like that monetization is like divine.
It's respected
And envied almost, But I do like the idea that it's sort of like little kids are looking up at these barons and saying like, oh, I want to be like him so that I can do good in the world. That kind of like twists my brain.
There's a certain romanticized view of kind of the owning class. I want to be the landlord. I want to be the beneficent giver with all of the money in my coffers.
So that everyone, they want to rent from me because they know that I will take care of them. And that sort of leads into the more of the society being, they still do push normal kind of graces of society. I love that we started talking about the character and we haven't even talked about the guy yet. We're too busy talking about
the background.
What brought him here.
So if this character, this halfling is a paladin and they live in a monetary society, is he, as a protector of this faith, is he given more money due to him protecting the society? So is his armor like the top level? Is his weapon the top level? And is everything just pristine? Is everything taken care of for him just so he can defend in the most efficient and also like he looks the best?
Oh, I love that idea that they are very opulent. They are very noticeable. Everything shines, everything gleams. The absolute wealth of a paladin's order is dripping off of every one of their knights.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
Just detailed crests, intricate lay of his, like the hilt in his sword, whatever church that he's like more like he comes from. Like, yes, they all worship the same deity, but like what church he is a paladin of, and their crest for that church or their symbol for that church, the inlays, just all the design.
That's actually a very good question. Then what do you guys think the symbol of the church would be?
Dollar signs, baby.
Yes.
It's got to have like their deity's like face on like a coin, and then have like another like the other half of the church's crest or something with like a money symbol in it, or something like along them lines.
Something like a like the shield has a dragon on it, but it's like the dragon's smaller than the horde that he's on top of, because that's the focus.
Yes.
I like that too, because traditionally you think of the paladin, you think of the guy that's like, I'm giving, it's not about me, it's not about the focus, it's about my god. But then the vanity of showing that off is a part of that worship in a way, and all connects back to having this desirable image.
Would the paladins of this order then fall under the oath of equity?
Give me a little elaborate.
Yeah, what does that entail?
As a subclass, instead of the average, the ancient, the oath of conquest, the oath of glory, what if this was more reflavored? What if this was the oath of equity?
That has a wonderful ring to it, and I think that's really interesting.
So like a beggar comes up to him, say they're outside of their main capital city. A beggar comes up from wherever they are and says, "Excuse me, do you have any coin you could spare or anything?" And this paladin's, "Oh yeah, sure, take everything I have." And then he goes along, and then all he's got left is his armor and his sword. Kind of just like he'll give and give and give until he's got nothing left, and then when he returns to his capital city, they go, "Oh, you must have done our deity's work. You've come back to us with nothing, and here, take all this gold, and we will replace your armor."
I actually think it would be the opposite. I think he would show up. He would show up with like pockets full, but at the same time, I do think that he would be like benevolent and like giving of things. But it's almost like, okay, so say the beggar comes up to him and says, "Hey, can you help me out? Do you have a spare coin?" And he's like, "Dang, I don't have a spare coin," but it would be me breaking my oath to not give you something. So then he does have this elaborate armor, and he literally snaps off a piece of this solid gold armor and hands it to him and says, like, "Have this forged down, and you won't have to worry about money for a while." But then also, it's he goes out, and maybe they've also got some kind of like protection ring, and he goes out and he's like picking up tithes from people because he's protecting him, and then he takes his full pockets back to the church, and he's like, "Look at all this money that I got for you guys."
Ooh, yes. I like that. I like that idea better.
I really like the idea of a shy but very spinster kind of paladin wearing his wealth on his armor, and as he walks into town, he is jingling and shaking with baubles and gaudy bits of jewelry that hang out. But as he goes from shop to shop and visits, the beggars, the slums, the poor districts, he begins just snapping pieces off, and by the time this paladin leaves this city, this village, his armor is bare bones. It is stripped down to its most basic necessities now. The eagles on his shoulders have been broken off, the gems on his chest plate have been individually popped out to be sold.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
I like that a lot. And that also, I mean, that's one thing I honestly kind of forgotten about the personality traits. I kind of forgotten about shy, which is completely in contrast with this, where he walks into this village and he's, he glimmers with gold. He looks like he's a sunbeam that came down to this planet. Everybody has eyes on him and he's like,
I don't want to be here.
And maybe that could be like connected to his stature. It's everybody's, they may see me as this golden boy, but they still see me as like a boy.
I really like that.
Or maybe it's a part of his it's all about this perfect portrayal of wealth and this like perfect portrayal of how to use that wealth. But say he's got like this like real gnarly scar on his face or something, and so he always wears his helmet and he never actually wants to show his true face, because then that people will know that like he's not perfect and pristine like he's supposed to be.
Ooh, yes.
I really like that idea. I think that's direction to run with. His helmet is a mask, kind of like a Roman legionary's. That's the mask that he hides behind. He is shy, and so hiding behind maybe the face and the very visage of what they view as their god is the break. It allows them to interact with people, because without that mask, without that helmet, they aren't what they represent. And inside, this paladin is scared of people.
Wow.
Scared of interactions.
Yeah, very cool.
Yep.
And then
Scared of showing the flaws.
Yeah, and then say that that could also, it kind of informs a couple of other things about it too. Like say for example, he's shy whenever he has to show his face, but when he wears, like you said, the mask, he can puff his chest out. He can actually be the paladin that he is, because no one can really truly see himself, and so he can be this character that's not who he really is, but it's who he wants to be. And then maybe the impulse buyer spender, what if that's like he then, one, he constantly is buying new helmets and new masks to change it out, and then two, he's trying to cover up his like, he looks fantastic, but he's like not really good in conversation maybe, and so to cover up his like not being able to communicate very well, he has, actions speak louder than words. Look at all of my good acts. Look at all of this money that I've spent and put into this economy of this village. Don't talk to me though.
Yeah.
Maybe the shyness is actually suspicion. His church, his order, is known for their wealth, their amassing of funds to be able to redistribute to the poor. Maybe that in and of itself brings shady characters. This character, this paladin, maybe they are shy because most of the people that they interact with know that they have money and they want to have their money.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, kind of just trying to stay away from outsiders almost.
Mm-hmm. And that totally informs how he like condones himself with anybody that he interacts with.
Boys, I feel that before we even rolled stats, we have made a incredibly complex and almost flawed character from the start.
Yeah,
oh, yes.
Absolutely. Because I was just sitting here thinking about like how if we challenge this guy, in different sort of ways, like what if he truly does have good motivations at heart, and he finds out that there is, for example, there's some kind of fraud within the church, which would be like perhaps their greatest sin. And how would he do with that, especially if it's like a fundamental thing, it's like corrupt at its core? Does that break him as a person?
Would that break his oath?
I see. But is it like his oath, is it really to the church, or is it to the god?
Yeah. And then maybe that's what he questions.
Right.
That sounds like a hook to get the paladin to have left their town.
Yes.
Aha.
That sounds like the hook. Fraud in the church spurred him to leave his own village in search of a more pure, I suppose in his eyes, expression of what his god is.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and is it they have an order within this village that he's in, and then there's a greater order outside, and so he realizes the order that he has at home is corrupt, and so he leaves to go and find out, is it all corrupt or is it just this one?
Traveling to like their like you've got your village outskirts, and then like traveling to like the main core of their, like, I don't want to say empire, but like the main core of their structured city, where you have like the person that is their closest deity in their eyes to their god. You know, he approaches that trying to approach that city, and that's his journey.
Yeah, I think that's a good, like you said, a great hook for a character to, because that's also one of the big like struggles whenever you're making characters, especially for a new campaign, is like, why am I here? And then if I have a motivation to be here, why would I just pick up and leave with this group of people? So that's really a good sort of like character building, I think, tip for coming into a new game, is leave something kind of open-ended and a good reason for why you should join the party, why you should be able to cruise out, and have something like that like already ready into the pocket, especially something like this that's fundamentally built into the core of the character.
This paladin's pursuit for the truth.
Yeah, and that's is that not the most noble desire? So we've talked about some background for a while now. Do we wanna roll some stats?
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, before we roll the stats, I want to get down what a level 1 halfling paladin would just have, like, coming from it. So you said they get +3 from dexterity. They get lucky, is that correct?
Yes. Halflings have the lucky ability, just for being their adorable little selves. Lucky. When you roll a 1 on an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can re-roll the die. You must use the new result even if it is a 1.
Is there you can do this, this many times per short rest, or is it just like you can just blanket use it whenever you want?
According to the rules, this is every dice roll. Every
Seems...
attack roll, every ability check, every saving throw. If you get the 1, you have a chance to re-roll that.
Well, it looks like I'm playing the halfling next time.
Yeah, that seems really powerful.
That is an incredibly powerful ability. After lucky, they have brave. You have advantage on saving throws against being frightened. And then last but not least is nimble. You can move through the space of any creature that is of a size larger than yourself.
You slide in between legs and stuff like that.
Real Goonie maneuvers.
I think that's kind of something, and another one of those cool things that would inform the character is he's this little dude. He's got to figure out a way to make that work for himself. And if that means fighting dirty, then, well, that's what I got to do.
Could you imagine a halfling paladin rolling through the battlefield, ducking and weaving through people's legs, and just throwing divine smites left and right?
This, I think, actually provides kind of a very interesting in-game mechanic, depending on how open your DM is. Nimble lets you move through the space of any creature that's larger than yourself, and you are a small-sized creature. So what's to stop you from wading clean into the front line? What's to stop you from really getting into the mix of it? Because the monsters that you're fighting aren't really in your way. You can walk right through their own space.
Yep.
I guess the only thing that would stop you there is attacks of opportunity, yeah?
That's fair.
But if you're a paladin, you got heavy armor, like, hit me. I dare you.
That's also very fair. What if that is kind of a bait? You move your paladin in, you move him to the enemies and through the enemies, and you kind of draw out their opportunity attacks to save your more vulnerable members as they move in.
I think that's really cool and would be a fun way to play.
Yeah. Even later on, say you take this character and you play this character, you even take a couple levels into fighter. You get them goading attacks and you're running through.
This halfling is a nuisance. An absolute menace on the battlefield.
All right, so then on the other side, we've got Paladin. So a level 1 Paladin would have a +2 proficiency bonus. They get 10 plus their Constitution and Health. And they would also get their Divine Sense and Lay on Hands. So Divine Sense says, the presence of a strong evil registers on your senses like a noxious odor. A powerful good rings like heavenly music in your ears. As an action, you can open your awareness to detect such forces. Until the end of your next turn, you know the location of any celestial, fiend, or undead within 60 feet of you that is not behind total cover. You know the type, but not its identity, and you can detect the presence of any place or object that has been consecrated or desecrated. Lay on Hands, on the other hand, is a blessed touch to heal wounds. You have a pool of healing power that replenishes when you take a long rest. With that pool, you can store a number of hit points equal to your paladin level times 5. You use it as an action to restore those hit points, and then you can use 5 of hit points of healing to rather cure a disease or neutralize a poison. None of that really seems to kind of inform the rest of what we were saying about him. But what if we like homebrew and change the divine sense to where instead of being able to like sense divine things, he knows where money's at?
Oh, I think you read my mind.
Yes, I'm so with it. I'm so with it, dude. That he's got what do you call it? The
natural metal detector almost.
Money hound or something like that.
Well, there's a name there somewhere.
Yeah, there is. So then he can sense, like, instead of consecration or like desecrated places, he's like, there's been money spent here within the past 10 minutes.
Yes, yeah, that sounds awesome. Like he is aware of like large transactions and where like the transfer of, for him, divine power.
Oh my gosh,
kind
you're
of
so
occurred.
right. You're so right. That's wild.
Or you could also possibly sense if it was used for like nefarious actions, like a bribe, or if it was in good faith.
That's cool too. Yeah, that's really interesting. And maybe even if you like add something to where as he progresses, he can like hone the skill and be able to tell like, you know, there were what was actually like what was transacted.
Almost like a magical receipt like shows itself.
Yeah. What a like insane detective this dude would be.
I mean, he is a paladin.
He needs to go and work for like financial like authority in this.
Oh
this
no!
place.
What if their church is also their bank?
What if instead of paladins, they're called auditors?
Wow!
Wow! I love it.
Oh no!
What have we done?
Well, looks like we're gonna go ahead and be changing that paladin to auditor.
You're right. We also just assumed that he was a male. We didn't roll for male or female. Do we want to give that a roll and then switch how we're talking here?
I say we do.
All right. So then let's do the thing we did last time: 1 to 2 male, 3 4 female, 5 6 non-binary, or choose not to say. Mm-hmm. That's a 2. It's a man.
A little halfling man.
It was fate.
Little halfling auditor.
We got Richie Rich over here.
That just like I can like assume like some bandits are like, oh man, the auditor's coming. We gotta get out of here.
Yeah. 2 guys up in the they meet in the back alley, and he's like, hey man, what do you got? And he's like, you know the auditors can tell that. I'm not gonna say nothing.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, that raises so many more questions about the town and the village or the city that maybe this halfling came from. Financial crimes are probably much more heavily tracked. Trade, commerce, even the black market there is probably insanely complex.
Yeah, they've got to keep that on the real down low. So maybe his passive perception should be pretty high then.
Maybe a character that carries a little bit more wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Was wisdom beneficial to paladins in any way? Their spellcasting goes off of charisma.
Maybe due to him being a halfling, he's not maybe not as strong as like per se a full-sized humanoid. So he's chosen to study more, so he's a little more wise.
I like that idea. Maybe he comes from a place where he's like he's the pencil pusher. He's the guy behind the desk. You know, he's still devout in his faith, but you know, he's never swung a weapon at anybody. You know, maybe like you said, whenever it comes from the city that he's from, those sort of crimes are held in such high disregard that for the most part that doesn't really go down.
So that maybe there is a sense for maybe not wearing types of armor. I don't know.
All right, let's get some dice out. Let's roll some stats.
Yeah.
Well, so we're gonna do 46s. We're gonna drop that lowest one. Let's get this first one going. We got 3, 1. We got a 7. All right, number 2. We got 4, 5, 13. All right, next 6, 6, 3. There we go, 15. 4, 4, 5, 13 again. 5, 4, 3, 12. 4, 3, 1, 8.
So we've got a 7, a 13, a 15, a 13, a 12, and an 8.
Whew. So where do we think we should allocate these? If we're talking a paladin, he needs charisma. So I think that 15 needs to sit there. We also need to keep in mind this guy, he gets his +2 from dexterity from being a halfling. So we could maybe even have this be a weirdo paladin that uses a finesse weapon and focuses on dexterity as the means of doing his combat stuff.
Yeah, I could see that.
A medium armored paladin. Really make use of that dexterity bonus.
And that nimble.
So then we want to put a 15 in charisma, and we want to put one of the 13s in dexterity so that it gets the bonus and then shoots up to 15 as well.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, so that takes care of a 15 and a 13. We have intelligence, wisdom, strength, and constitution remaining.
Oh, as much as I hate to say it, we were talking about his perception being maybe a hair above the rest.
Yeah.
Correct.
I say we put the 13 into wisdom.
I'm with you there. I think that'll make a fair thing, because I'm always for putting a stat, one stat higher for like a story reason, even if it doesn't immaculately benefit your character. It makes sense, and it's cool to me for characters to have areas where they suck.
Yeah.
And that just comes into it being a party game and you being able to just look towards one of your fellow players and say, this ain't my bag, please, this, it's your time to shine. So we've got a 12, a 7, and an 8 remaining. I think we should have the 12 in Constitution, so he's kind of got at least some kind of benefit there. And then
got a little bit of health.
But with him, being a monetarily minded fella, it seems like you would need to be at least kind of smart.
I agree.
Oh, he does.
A 7 and the 8, though, are going to hurt. No matter where they go, they're going to hurt.
Maybe he doesn't need to be as intelligent. Maybe his focus, his knowledge, his extent of expertise with wealth is entirely religious or entirely religion-based.
Blow my mind, dude. That's cool.
Yeah, I could see that.
So he's not terribly smart, but he is devout. He knows the rules of money, if not exactly the inner workings of how they are exchanged, just the real minutia of how marketplaces work. That's not important to him. Just so long as the end goal is reached.
I see. As long as there is a transaction, I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe what if that leads into him not being very good at his job because he doesn't really know, He's going by blind faith.
The character might be young.
Oh, yeah?
This might be just a character right outside of adolescence, just now breaking into the world.
Just now becoming their auditor.
Right? He just now got his shiny gold cape. He graduated, maybe the middle of his class and the Bureau of Revenue.
Bureau of Revenue. I really like that.
That's where they train their paladins.
Like you said, and they're in there meditating in prayer with an abacus on their lap. So if that's the case, do we want to have the 12 in Constitution? So he's got a little bit extra health. We'll put the 7 in Strength and the 8 in Intelligence that way. Because if he's going by Dex for his ability to hit, who needs Strength? There'll be a big guy in the group.
Yeah, I mean you got a barbarian or a fighter of some sort.
So and then if that's the case, let me get some modifiers here. 12 is going to be a +1. 7 is going to be a -2. Dex is 15 +2. Intelligence is 8 -1. Wisdom 13 +1. Charisma 15 +2. So then his AC is going to be 10 plus his modifier, so he'll have 12 AC. His health is going to be 10 plus his constitution modifier, so 11.
I want to recall real quick to our last episode here. Could you imagine Tomfa and this halfling in a party together? Tomfa constantly being distracted by his armor and all the gold or coin that this character is carrying.
I absolutely love that idea. I think that is 10 kinds of interesting. This is a party dynamic.
Mm-hmm. And I think that they would get together, or at least be able to kind of find some common ground in their, like Tonfa's, their whole thing was like their culture is like not about thievery, not about stealing. And so these guys also kind of, I would see them also really not being cool with thievery, and so them kind of being like, hey, I don't steal and you don't steal. That's great. We're good friends.
Oh my goodness, Trevor. So you know how we talked about like Tomfa, he stole from his best friend and he's trying to find something to make up for it. Well, what if he joins this halfling auditor on their way to their citadel to seek out the evil or something that's been corrupt in the system, and they don't like stealing. They are, they always want to give and give. So this is like kind of almost beneficial to both of them together. Be like, I don't like when people steal. You like to give money away, and then you also don't like when people steal, and you're trying to solve this corruption.
I see, and that's enough calling to get me to help you out as well.
Or maybe this halfling hero promises, or this halfling auditor promises something to Tomfa.
That is brilliant. This auditor, this halfling, kind of maybe has the key to Tonfa's redemption, and it's in the form of ill-gotten gains. But the paladin knows what gains are ill-gotten, and maybe for Tonfa, he has to go and find more ill-gotten gains, but not the ones that he stole. Instead, money, wealth stolen by someone else and then taken, I guess, almost retrieved by Tonfa and this paladin. And then that, retrieval of stolen money almost purifies it in a sense, and then he can bring that back to who he stole from to begin with.
Yes. In this case, 2 wrongs would make a right.
Yes.
Kind of
the act of reacquisitioning stolen money almost purifies it.
Yes.
Yes, that rules. That is so cool. I love the idea of Tonfa being able to come to Brachis is the name that keeps hitting me in my head. I don't know, so we're just kind of cool with that.
I like it.
I love Brachis.
He comes to Brachis and he says, this is the way that I have tarnished myself in the eyes of my people. And Brachis says, well, I got a divine sense for these kind of things, man. I'll tell you where the bad transactions took place, and you show up and crack some skulls.
Yes, he's the strength.
I also have this hilarious little scene in my head of maybe something very shiny, maybe something very glinting, or something that looks like it would be very wealthy, kind of attracting the eye of Tonfa, but then him shooting a glance to Brachis, and Brachis gives just the most subtle head shake of, that's only gold painted, that's not real.
Ah, yes. Kind of help curve Tomfa's bird's eye curse type deal
awesome.
He's got.
Awesome.
I mean, because with that passive perception that Brachis has, I mean, they can kind of almost pick up the same thing.
He has the innate aptitude for appraisal.
Ooh, yes. Due to his training in their bureau, that is like a spell it's like a cantrip to them at this point. They can use it, or not a cantrip, but they can use once a day, and they could do an appraisal on an item.
That sounds like it would fit perfectly into a unique subclass option, maybe switching one thing out for the ability to know an object's price.
Sort of like he would just have a built-in identify.
And now we have a name for it.
Mm-hmm. That's just a unique thing towards the character, informs his background, but also gives him something that's really useful to the party in the long run too. Well, I'd say let's close it out. We're gonna pull a group of random fictional characters.
Ah, yeah.
And we're going to decide how that character would fit into the framework of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Yeah, Peyton, if you want to just do the poll and tell us the 4 random characters.
Let's see who we get. Oh boy, okay. We can stick with a theme if we want, but we've got Iron Man, Prince Charming from Cinderella. We have got Dory from Finding Nemo. We have got Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars. And then we also have Cat in the Hat from Dr. Seuss.
I say since we did Yoda last time, let's cut out Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan, you out.
A lot of people are going to be upset that we didn't stick with it.
Hey man, Obi-Wan is the baddest of all Jedi. So like, if we were going to cover one, he would be the one. But he came last.
Yep.
My vote, honestly, is
Yoda
for
beat
Cat
him
in the
to it.
Hat.
Yeah, I was honestly thinking the same thing.
Yep. I am 100% here for the Cat in the Hat breakdown.
Gotcha. So,
Oh my gosh, this is so wild.
So
he has to have wild magic at some point.
so you want to make him like a wild magic sorcerer?
Oh my gosh, dude.
I don't know that we
Thing
even
one
have a
and thing
choice.
two?
I think that, I mean, you never want to just go with like the first option, but it fits so well for him to be this, like, it's innate magic. He hasn't trained. There's no schooling. This man can just do this wacky stuff.
I think that fits the character perfectly too. That is right up the cat's alley. It's all wild magic. It's all random and weird. It's strange and kind of abstract.
When you guys think of the Cat in the Hat, do you picture, like, in your head, do you picture book Cat in the Hat, or do you picture Mike Myers' Cat in the Hat?
on a whole, my mind's eye brings me straight to the books. But for this character, it's live action.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with Michael on that one.
This is a pot-bellied man in a fursuit.
That's what I'm talking about. Yes. So are we content to leave it there, or do we want to actually roll some stats and talk about, like, going a little bit more in depth for him?
I mean, it's such a wild card. How would we do that?
I think let's do it, because we're gonna have to do some weird things. So I think we should throw it out there. So let me make we got strength, dex, con, intelligence.
I love this.
Wisdom, charisma. Let's get some rolling. Let's roll those stats.
Roll the stats.
6, 3, 4, 13. 4, 2, 1, 7. 16. 2, 2, 1. Literally 5. 11. 12.
Man, the cat's not looking too hot.
I think the 5 and the 7 actually kind of perfectly hit the almost maybe extra dimensional outside of our reality character that the Cat in the Hat is. That he is fantastical and he is wild and magical, but do we ever see any great feats of strength from the cat? It's all show. Do we ever see
so very true.
Any great levels of real intelligence? No, it's all innate knowledge and weird.
Illusions.
Yes.
Okay, go to court. I'm with you.
I think maybe the Cat in the Hat with these kind of numbers, they're not even on the material plane, or at least they didn't start on the material plane.
Kind of from the Fae.
I believe so.
Are you thinking strength and intelligence for the 2 lowest?
I think so. I don't think either of those particularly mean much to the Cat in the Hat. This is a being of whimsical force.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you. So then we have one lower modifier score that comes from the 5. So where do you think he would have the lowest? Part of me wants to say intelligence, and just because he's insane.
Yeah, he's insane.
I think you just sold me. He is. He's unhinged from the reality that we all live in. Our rules don't matter to him, and so he doesn't need to know or care about them.
Exactly.
Oh, 1,000%. I'm so there with you. Okay, so that takes care of the 5 and the 7. That leaves us with 11, 12, 13, 16. If we're going with a sorcerer, and if we're talking about the Cat in the Hat, 16 charisma, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down.
He's got to be, because that's, he's so charismatic. That's the way he functions.
Yes. He might be insane. Man, he can talk.
And then I want to say the 13 in Constitution, because he's got like cartoon character Constitution where he can like fall off cliffs and be like ran over by like lawnmowers and stuff.
I love that he has that unnatural level of resistance just because his anatomy doesn't make sense in our world.
And we can maybe even work that into like some kind of like homebrew system where like, you know, maybe he's got like just like a 5% chance to like completely ignore damage somehow.
I actually kind of like that. I think that is maybe a fair option for a race to choose from, is that you have maybe this you know, like innate ability to kind of ignore the dangers of the material plane that you're on, but maybe it does come with the caveat that one of your stats are going to look like this 5 and this 7.
I see where it's like you don't understand this world because you're not from it. And so because you're not from it, you work by your own rules.
That sounds perfect. I love that idea.
So that leaves us with an 11 and a 12. I say he's a cat. 12 dexterity.
Agreed.
So then that puts it at a +1 there, and the 11 gets him a +0. So we've got 7 strength with a -2, 12 dex with a +1, 13 constitution with a +1, 5 intelligence with a -3, 11 wisdom with a 0. Then charisma would be 16, giving us a +3.
Boys, I think we made a character.
Yeah, this would be wild to play.
This actually seems like a very, very fun NPC to put into a game.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, could you imagine the party stumbling upon just a lunatic in the woods? Almost makes me want to see if we could roll like a Mad Hatter and have a Mad Hatter and Cat in the Hat just hanging out together.
Just both being just mad.
Or maybe this isn't even a character. Maybe this isn't even an NPC. Maybe the Cat in the Hat is more like a neutral imagination monster.
I see. It's just something that toils and tempts one of the party members.
Yeah, in the book, in the children's book, the children they never provoked the cat, and so of course they were never going to bring any of its actual dangers or ire. But this is a fantastical and like whimsical creature that just showed up in their room and immediately tempted them to do goofy stuff. It's like the Pied Piper of children.
That's a really like good observation, I think. And could make for a really just fun thing in a campaign where, you know, one of the characters has this voice in their head or this alter ego or this, you know, person they see out of the corner of their eyes, and it's just this, you know, wacky character.
Maybe this character is somehow affixed to Brachis and trying to pull him out of his shy demeanor.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, boys, we've had some good conversation this afternoon. We've talked about the Auditor Brachis. We've talked about what the Cat in the Hat would be if he was in the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons. I think it's about time to send it off, so I'm Trevor.
Peyton.
I'm Michael.
And this has been Roll Your Stats.